Ladies and gentlemen, panel 3 will now begin. The panel theme is Key Dialogue, Ocean Governance. This panel will be moderated by Dr. Alan Yang, Executive Director of the Taiwan Asia Exchange Foundation. 现在我们将进入本日第3场专题座谈，主题为关键对话海洋治理。我们很荣幸邀请到台湾亚洲交流基金会杨昊执行长担任主持人。
Thank you. Distinguished guests, our panelists and experts and representatives from the like-minded institution and think tank. I'm Alan Yang. On behalf of Taiwan Asia Exchange Foundation, I took the pleasure to join today's forum and also to facilitate the dialogue and interaction in this specific panel on ocean governance. First, and I would like to express my gratitude to the kind invitation of the Ocean Affairs Council for organizing such a meaningful gathering of international leadership and experts on ocean governance and maritime affairs in Taiwan. And this session is addressing the importance of ocean governance. What is the goal for the ocean governance? I think we have 6 distinguished panelists who would shed light on this important issue and to address the action plan and also the recommendation for further cooperation among like-minded countries and also the stakeholders. Apparently, I believe the goal for the effective or resilient ocean governance is to safeguard the rule-based maritime order. As we, the country across the Indo-Pacific region, encountered a common challenge in terms of the traditional security threat, non-traditional security challenge, as well as the challenge of the human security issues. The regional country need to address this common challenge and also work together based on the common interest and shared practice. So I, as a facilitator of this meaningful dialogue session, my role is to ask my fellow panelists to concentrate on 3 S. The number 1 S is to strategize the partnership for the ocean governance. Number 2 S is to secure the common interest for a better and a resilient ocean governance. Number 3, it will be more meaningful for us gathering here to tentatively structure the potential framework for international collaboration through dialogue. And Taiwan will be delighted to serve as the interface for facilitating the multifaceted partnership among our neighbors and also the like-minded countries. So since we have only less than 1 hour, I would also like to open a few questions to the speakers and participants today. So I will ask every of our distinguished panelists to have to address your idea and recommendation within 7 minutes. Although this is the last session, we can extend to 70 minutes for each of the panelists. But I know most of you stay for a long day and will be very hungry later. So we will be very strict, gently strict to our fellow panelists that for 7 minutes each. And with that, I will first invite Dr. Ting Hui Lin to share your ideas and your thoughts. Dr. Lin is the Commissioner of Ocean Affairs Council, Taiwan, who is also a very important leading scholar on maritime affairs in Taiwan. So, Ting Hui, the floor is yours.
Thanks, moderator Aaron Yang. He's my best friend in Taiwan. We cooperate and we fight Chinese Communist Party each other in the past. Today, because the time limits and I just have the 7 minutes, all right? And so I just share my observations for you about my thought about the ocean governance. Ocean governance it means that the government or non-government actors should cooperate to do something for the ocean, right? But if your ocean dominated by other countries, what you can do? Just like right now, the Chinese Coast Guard or the Chinese Navy surrounded the Taiwan Island, and if you want to do something for the oceans, what you can do? Just watch the navies, watch the Coast Guard ship every day, or to do something about the environmental protections in the ocean? I don't know. But the first thing is that right now, the Taiwanese government have something have to do. The first thing is I think the institutional building. What is the institutional building? Just like the Ocean Affairs Councils established since 2018. But the members of the Ocean Affairs Council exclude Navy. Okay? So the Navy activities, very important in the ocean activities. And you know, in our National Security Council, our Defense Department is the member of our National Security Council. So they can coordinate it in the National Security Council, but cannot coordinate in the Ocean Affairs Council. So that's why we should the institutional building or re-evaluate our institutions. The first thing. The second thing is the legal instrument. I'm very to our Philippines friends. Okay, they passed the two legal bills. One is the Philippines Maritime Zones Act, and the other is the Philippine Archipelago Sea Lands Act last year. And then the Chinese government declared the baseline of the Scarborough Shoal last year. And it means that you should have used the legal as the tool to protect your countries or protect your rights. The third is you have to use the modern technology, just like the artificial intelligence or UAV. It's not just for preparing for a war, but also to protect your ocean. The fourth is you have to educate the people's awareness. Let the people support the government or non-governmental organizations to support the government policies to do something about the ocean governance. The last one is the international corporations. Just like our Minister of the Ocean Affairs Council, Ms. Guan, said, we should join the join the international organizations, just like the International Maritime Organizations, IMO, or International Seabed Authority, ISA, or ITEROS, even ITEROS. But the first thing is Taiwan should become the contracting parties of the UNCLOS. But I think in the past, in some few years, and when the international society negotiate the BBNJ, but Taiwan cannot participate the BBNJ's negotiation. It's Taiwan lose some opportunities to negotiate or share our experience to the international society. So the last item is Taiwan should join the international organizations to cooperate with the other parties. So that's my experience and observations for ocean governance. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ting Hui, for your input, and also you mentioned a few important items, that cutting-edge technology, and also to curate the public awareness, and most importantly, Taiwan as one of the important stakeholders of the ocean governance across the Indo-Pacific region need to call upon more international support for being internationalized and to join the international regime or the grouping that jointly safeguard the rule-based maritime order in this region. I hope my summary would be okay. So thank you for your remark. And next, let me invite Dr. Susan Anna Ferenczi from V Region University, Brussels, and who Dr. Anna is currently a visiting professor in Taiwan, based in Taiwan, working on many important issues related to Taiwan's foreign policy. So the floor is yours, Anna.
Thank you, Dr. Yao, and good afternoon to everyone. It's really a great opportunity to be here to join this event. And I think 7 minutes will not be a lot of time for us, but I think if we're good, then we'll manage to really share some of the insights that we each bring. And in my case, this will be something that comes from a European background. So I'm happy to bring a little more Europe into the conversation. And this is something also, I say it because being based in Taiwan for the past 5 years, one of the objectives I've had is to really bring Europe closer. Europe, as the EU, is always far and complicated. At least this is so far has been the case, but I think at least we're seeing quite a lot of change in the bilateral relationship that brings the EU as the bloc of 27 sovereign countries and Taiwan closer together. So how does this fit into the ocean governance conversation? Because that's what we're discussing today. And I think the first point I would make is that there is a momentum. This is something I mentioned in our meeting with President Lai yesterday as well. And I think he agreed that there is a momentum in the bilateral relationship, but in my view, the challenge is to keep this momentum. And my easy answer to that is that we need to work with what we have, and we need to look for concrete areas of cooperation that allows us to consolidate what we have. And we also need to be creative about it. So we all know what the limitations are. We have to be realistic about our expectations. And I think someone in the earlier panel said that also Taiwan needs to ask, in its own way, maybe ask stronger, or perhaps both sides need to be more strategic about each other. But in this regard, we have concrete examples and initiatives that have been taken already on the European side that have anchored Taiwan in our approach to the Indo-Pacific. And that is the 2021 Indo-Pacific strategy. As you know, if you're familiar with it, then Taiwan is really mentioned explicitly, in particular also in the ocean governance area. So I think that is something very tangible. You can ask me later on, how has this Indo-Pacific strategy been implemented? And I think that's where things will get a bit tricky, because that's also my question, in the sense that we have good tools that we've put in place that allowed us to really establish this solid place for Taiwan on our agenda, in our approach to the Indo-Pacific. And so the Indo-Pacific strategy allows exactly that. It particularly mentions Taiwan as a country, or, well, it doesn't say that Taiwan is a country. I have to be, clarify this, just as we all know what the limitations are. But what the Indo-Pacific strategy also mentions is that we have a working group on IUU fishing. And this is something that is a result of the bilateral consultation between the European Union, in particular the European Commission, and Taiwan, for that consultations that lasted between 2015 to about 19, 3-4 years, which resulted in Taiwan under that pressure, that was clearly a constructive pressure to introduce effective tools that are in line with IUU fishing, and to allow the European Union to give access to products coming from Taiwan that are in line with the standards. So this is a clear and a very concrete example of tangible cooperation, and I think this is something that needs to be further amplified. And I would like to bring in another layer of another institutional actor, which is the European Parliament, that has been a very strong advocate of EU-Taiwan relations. And I think if we want to continue this channel and working on this channel, we need to be creative about, okay, so if the European Parliament is a partner for Taiwan and has been vocal about doing more for and with Taiwan, what in particular can the European Parliament do in ocean governance? So I would say that we have a friendship group in the European Parliament. We have MEPs or members who regularly come and visit Taiwan. And I would say, why don't they, for example, set up a dialogue at the parliamentary level that focuses in particular on ocean governance? Because that is also maritime security, and that is a lot of different areas that are interlinked. And finally, because I think my time is coming to an end, I just want to mention another important legislative, it's not yet a piece of legislation, but the European Union also recently adopted a European Ocean Pact, which is to coordinate all our policies when it comes to ocean governance. And the idea is that we work between the different actors in the EU, different layers, and we are working on a European Ocean Act that's supposed to follow this pact or this consultation. And I think this is another window for Taiwan to tap into it, because it's very specific, also including ocean governance and ocean diplomacy, research, skills, innovation. So I know we did talk a lot about security this morning, and I think without security there is no sustainability. But I think we perhaps, I'm not sure what the rest of the panel will focus on, but I think it's also important to focus on other dimensions of ocean governance. So I'll stop here, and I'm happy to continue the conversation later.
And thank you, Anna, for your stimulating remark. I particularly heard that there are two keywords that of interest. Number one is the European Commission. I had a partnership working with a think tank based in London. We explored some possibility of how the non-traditional security challenging can be addressed between Taiwan and the European counterpart. And I pay attention to the European Commission. They have a strong interest in the undersea cable resilience, and that is of their strategic interest. And also Taiwan's case, the attack of the undersea cable around Taiwan's neighboring water can be an important references for this note. And number two keyword is the Indo-Pacific strategy. And we have a project working on the Indo-Pacific strategy comparative study. And currently there are 14 countries and international organizations already developed, announced, or operating their own Indo-Pacific strategy, including Lithuania, Czech Republic, European Union, and others are based in Indo-Pacific country. So the content of the Indo-Pacific strategy mostly touch upon the maritime issue, maritime affair. And that also lead to my suggestion that since our two panelists already focus on some tangible issue related to the ocean governance, I myself would like to propose the idea that maybe we can come up with more in-depth discussion on how to materialize the framework of this so-called ocean governance, or in terms of the maritime corridor. I think I would like to learn more about this idea from our panelists. And next, let me invite Dr. John Bradford, the Executive Director of the Yokosuka Council of Asia Pacific Study. Dr. Bradford, the floor is yours.
Thank you. You know, it's so good to see so many friends here, make some new friends. It's great to be among maritime governance practitioners. And I really want to show my appreciation to the Taiwan Ocean Affairs Council for bringing us together here. This is a particularly important place for maritime governance. Taiwan is an essential maritime society. We've talked already, we've already heard speakers and keynote advisors, keynote address makers to talk about how we're at the center of the first island chain, which is the critical geopolitical geography of the Indo-Pacific in the 21st century. We've also heard how important Taiwan ports are, which means that they have implications for the supply chains, which support everything we do in our daily lives. We just heard about fishing. Taiwan has one of the largest distant water fishing fleets, which means that Taiwan is essential to our diets. So you bring these things together, and it means that maritime governance, which is reliant on maritime security. So Taiwan's security is maritime security. And all of our security is maritime security. And so Taiwan's security is our security. These things all tie together. And they tie together at several important nexus points, and here is one of them. So taking on the challenge of thinking, what can we do that's very practical? I thought back to what I've been, an idea that really kind of congealed in my head during the Manila Dialogue on the South China Sea last year, and I talked about in the closing remarks for that event. And that is that in today's world, small organizations like tech startups, small nonprofits, and even individuals are having an outsized impact on maritime governance. And you look at two specific areas to exemplify that. First, maritime domain awareness. Small startups like Skylight or Sealight, these companies are producing and distributing as much maritime domain awareness as entire countries' intelligence communities were just 10 or 15 years ago. A topic which has come up a couple times in the last day or two has been China's relatively new structures in the East Sea, or the Yellow Sea, if someone might prefer. And while certainly countries knew about these, certainly it was not small companies that had the exclusive knowledge of them. It was Sealight that documented them, developed the analysis, pushed it to the mainstream media, and created Newsweek articles and CNN articles about it. This happened based on a small group sitting in a laboratory in Stanford University with a budget of $0 US. If I take a look at the research community, it's much the same. I mean, you're all maritime security practitioners. Many of you are PhDs or researchers. How many of us, when we want to explore an idea, the first place we go is the big academic presses or the major journals? I'm not saying they don't have a value, but that's not where we go. The first place we go is the think tanks. And if you think about it, the CSISs and the RUSIs and the RSISs of the world, they all do good work. But generally speaking, I'm finding that the most dynamic, the most interesting work, and the most groundbreaking work is being done by very small groups, like Australia's Blue Security or Zhujia's 9-Line. This is where you find the most interesting stuff. So that takes me to the practical side of it. What do I recommend? First of all, everyone in this room who has a choice about where they invest resources, I recommend you take a look at those small organizations, those small nonprofits, those tech startups, those hot individuals. Those are the folks, those are the teams that with a very small amount of resources will create force multipliers for maritime governance. It's not to say that big organizations and governments don't have a role, but these are the places where your dollars or your yuan or your new Taiwan dollars or your rupiah will go the furthest. So the second is find and use the underutilized talent. Our community is full of very smart, very driven, very hardworking people that just need a framework, just need an outlet, just need a little bit of help. This is something that at YCAPS, the Yokosuka Council on Asia Pacific Studies, we spend a lot of energy on. We find individuals who are ready to do good work, who are currently underemployed, sometimes unemployed, generally underemployed, and we empower them. And it's a stepping stone. They do good for our mission, which is to improve maritime security and security in general communities in the region. And they build their resume and they make contacts and they develop experience. And then before too long, they can move on to one of those big organizations that can pay them more. That's great. We helped them. They helped the community. It was a win all around. We're not the only ones doing that, but I would suggest as an avenue to building a maritime corridor, we need to find those people and harness them. And then finally, the other third piece of advice is we need to stay alert. So the reason that these small organizations can be nimble is because in today's information age, based on the technology that is held and the organizational principles, that allows the good guys to do more with less. It also means the bad guys can do more with less. And when I talk about that, I'm thinking about the smuggler who can use modern GPS and their phone to find an AI to find the route where the police are not. I'm talking about the pirate who can use AIS on their phone to see where the targets are, where they can easily use encrypted messaging apps instead of handheld radios to target the vessels. But I'm not just talking about those non-state actors. The reason a maritime militia small boat can be so effective today is because they're enabled by these technologies and these cultures. The reason why a lone vessel with an old school anchor can break a cable and know exactly where it is because of these technologies. So we have to stay abreast of them. We have to keep track, and the big organizations need to keep track. And the big organizations need to make sure they work with the little organizations so that we're all on the same page and we're keeping abreast of these very, very dynamic threats. And with that, I'll turn the microphone over to the next speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bradford, for your stimulating remark and also positively enlighten the tangible maritime corridor with the input of the cutting-edge technology. Yes, we need to stay alert because for those challenge and also those challenge-related stakeholders, they can utilize the cutting-edge technology to do things that beyond our imagination, and that also lead to a more intensive cooperation among the like-minded institutions. And next, I would like to invite Mr. Piero Tosi, the staff director of Congressional Executive Commission on China, United States. The floor is yours, Mr. Tosi.
Well, thank you, Alan. I just want to start with a disclaimer that I'm going to be speaking, giving my own views and not speaking for the Congressional Executive Commission on China or the U.S. government. Then that'll allow me to be a little more brash. You know, you talk about three keywords, and there are three keywords that I really haven't heard much, except maybe in passing, but I think are very important to what we're talking about. The rules-based international order, protecting the global commons, and indeed the very fact that we're able to have this conference in a free Taiwan, and those three key words. Anyone channeling what I'm thinking here? Bueller? Okay, it's United States Navy. There will be a hegemon and there will be rules. Okay, and the question is, who will be the hegemon, and who will be setting the rules. And is it what we're talking about here, the rules-based international order that we're all familiar with and we all want to defend? Or is it going to be something like the shared common destiny of mankind? One needs to think of the challenge posed, as Dr. Trinidad said, by the Chinese Communist Party, not simply as a strategic one or an economic one, but rather a systemic one. In other words, they want to undo the entire rules-based international order and replace it of one of their own devising. Now, the People's Republic of China has entered into various agreements and treaties and has ratified them. These are promises that are made, but promises that are unkept. We've talked about the UN Law of the Sea, arbitral decision with regards to the Philippines. The United States is not a states party to the Convention on the Law of the Sea, and we can talk about that later in the Q&A if you want. But that's, I think, in part because we don't make promises that we don't intend to keep here. But the PRC repeatedly does so. The fact we've heard about tariffs, the fact that the PRC's in the World Trade Organization yet doesn't follow any of the rules. It's a mercantilist, predatory economy. I think also, as we talk about international law, something that impacts Taiwan and impacts the Philippines, the cutting of cables to Matsu, for example, the incursions, also the harassment with the Second Thomas Shoal or Sabina Shoal. I think this constitutes the crime of aggression under international law, and it's important to understand that aggression does not require kinetic military action, but it's that planning for war. That now this is most clearly set forth in the Rome Statute, where they define the crime of aggression, and again, a treaty that we haven't ratified, but it really goes to the UN Charter. This, and I guess it's Article 2 there. So what we see is this defiance of the most fundamental basic international norms. It also exists, I think, is Hughes Kogan's principles here. And this bad behavior, this disregard of that, we see other countries that do pick that up. For example, Turkey and their Blue Homeland Initiative, too, which disregards, which would extend their territory into these islands that are controlled by Greece, they draw a line from Turkey to Libya, too, and lay claim to all the resources there. So it's this notion of promises made and promises unkept is a very serious one. Mr. De Castro, I think, made a reference to the yin yang, and I guess he's a Taoist, and I'm something of a Confucian. There is a Confucian concept of zhenming, the rectification of names, calling things by their proper names. If you get the premise incorrect, your conclusion's going to be incorrect. And one way I think that we can start with rectifying names, why do we keep saying the South China Sea? And I've heard a number of our Filipino speakers flip back and forth, but yeah, the West Philippine Sea, and for Mr. Nguyen over here, East Vietnam Sea, okay? But at the very least, why don't we call it the South Sea? I mean, in Chinese, it's what, Nanhai? Yeah, it's anyway, I think that is important, though, because you accept certain premises, you then accept the conclusion, and we'll leave a discussion of the Gulf of America for later also. But anyway, I just kind of try to go full circles. You talk about corridors, to maritime corridors. Just as a practical issue here, I think Taiwan really needs to think about where you get, because what's important to Taiwan's security, energy is absolutely essential, and you're very, very vulnerable. Where do you get your LNG from? Do you get it from countries that are going to be susceptible to pressure from the PRC, or do you get it from places, for example, like Alaska, which take a few years to come online, or Louisiana? Because I think ultimately there, what you do have as a guarantee is, again, to come full circle, is the United States Navy. And that, I think, is what, and it is, it's a basic question about power. Because ultimately, all this that we're talking about, all this that, the rules-based international order and the contribution, and all this is important. But at the end of the day, it comes down to a power equation. And who do you trust, really? Is it us or is it them? And anyway, want to thank you, and hopefully we'll have some time for Q&A. That's always fun.
Thank you for raising the attention on Taiwan's power and electricity issue that is related to the potential blockade over Taiwan's logistic route. And next, I would like to invite Dr. Da Wu Zhong, the Research Fellow of Australian National Centre for Ocean Resource and Security, University of Wollongong, Australia. Dr. Zhong, the floor is yours.
Thank you. It's my great pleasure to be here to this wonderful conference. And I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the Ocean Affairs Council and the organizing committee who made this wonderful event very smoothly behind the scenes. There are so many interesting issues that I would like to talk relating to ocean governance, but today I want to talk about a few issues relating to offshore wind farms, and I'm very glad that Piero mentioned about the energy issues. Taiwan has been recognized as a front runner in the development of offshore wind farms in Asia. And considering the development in Taiwan, there is a significant opportunities to cooperate between Australia and Taiwan, such as knowledge sharing, technological transfer, and joint research initiatives. Taiwan also can provide valuable lessons to ASEAN countries where are developing the ASEAN offshore wind development roadmap. At present, there are no operating wind farms in Australia. However, ongoing plans with huge sizes, which can be one of the biggest offshore wind farms in the world, and the consideration of diverse ecosystems and engagement stakeholders can provide interesting and useful lessons to Taiwan as well. Moving to the safety and security issues, offshore wind farms are vulnerable to navigation incidents, including a vessel colliding with wind turbines or fishing anchor, or security threats such as piracy, the illegal migrant, drug smuggling, cyber attacks, and terrorism. There has been a lot of ongoing incidents relating to security and offshore wind farms across the world. For example, there was a cyber attack on the German wind turbines company in 2022, resulting in the shutdown of the 2,000 turbines out of 7,500 turbines for 2 days. And this is slightly different, but also relevant example that the attack against the Nord Stream pipelines in 2022, which are natural gas pipelines that run under the Baltic Sea. The intentional attack by using the explosives to the pipelines has led to a surge in energy prices and supply shortages. And as a few panelists mentioned that attacks against the submarine telecommunications of the Taiwan can be also relevant example as the attacks against critical infrastructure. So especially Nord Stream pipelines, the incidents became a tipping point to talk about and consider the protection of the critical infrastructure, which can cover the offshore wind farm. My colleague at ANCHORS and I recently conducted research on securing the blue energy future, focusing on offshore wind farm in Australia and Southeast Asia. We found that despite the importance of the protection of the offshore wind farm infrastructure, international regulations and the national legislation are quite fragmented. It is mainly because UNCLOS use the different terms, installations and submarine cables, and they provide the different regulations separately. And one of the main problem was that submarine power cables are often excluded from the Telecommunication Act, which governs criminal offenses against the submarine cables. And considering the unique characteristics of the offshore wind farms consisting of the wind turbines, submarine power cables, and substation, there is a need to develop more regulations to consider these unique characteristics. So I would like to point out 3 points. First, it is important to develop a comprehensive regulation for offshore wind farms at the national level and to cooperate with different agencies involved in the development of offshore wind farms. And recently adopted EU directive on the critical infrastructure can be a good example, because with the ongoing intentional security threat against not only submarine communication cables, but also wind farms, we may need to think about the critical infrastructure as a whole. And the definition of the critical infrastructure is not clear yet, but I believe that at the national level, the states can consider their unique characteristics of their economic interest, and then they can define the scope of the critical infrastructure to protect further. And second, it is also important to strengthen regional cooperation between and among government, enterprises, and research institutes to foster collaborative efforts to address these challenges. And third, on operational aspect, joint surveillance and intelligence sharing to detect this potential threat can be an option to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jun, for your 3 valuable suggestions. And last but not least, we have Dr. Liya Khan from India, who's the head of Department of Civics and Politics and Associate Director of the Center for International Relations and Strategic Study, University of Mumbai. Dr. Khan, the floor is yours. You have 7 minutes.
Honorable dignitaries, panelists, ladies and gentlemen. At first, I would like to thank the Ocean Affairs Council, the organizing committee, for giving me an opportunity to come to Taiwan and talk from the heart. Because for the last 1 day, what I am hearing about China and Taiwan relation, it is not new for us to hear. India and China also has suffered the same problems. Almost 3,500 kilometers is the border area that we have. And all those borders are not plain borders, it is manned borders. Every inch of the border is manned. And that is the reason why India and China also has those basic problems which I could hear what problems are there with Taiwan and China. The second aspect is basically, like to me, the topic was given was to address onto ocean governance. Now, when you look at the key aspects of ocean governance, like in India, for the last 20 years, 15-20 years, we have begun on thinking on the waterways, the oceans. It is only 20 years back that we began with a program called Sagar Manthan. And then we began after 15 years, after prior 15 years, we began with blue economy. Because prior to those 20 years, there was no such wider program on ocean. And last week, I just, on the news, I heard that Taiwan National Security Advisor has visited India for a free trade agreement. Now, free trade agreement, if it happens, would be much better. Because India would like to see a lot of avenues in the oceanic areas. And thereby, Because again, what I see personally is nations can only develop if they have their own policies. Like Taiwan has already been an upper level elevated to the policy. But India we still are nurturing with the initial policy framework itself. And thereby, like the issues of territorial water, the issue of EEZ, the issue of high seas, is still in between students also. It is not very popular. And that's a reason why I say that it is very important that the education should go on with respect to the oceanic areas. Now, there are also some challenges which I see in governance of oceans. Now, oceans are like, as in the morning, somebody said that oceans are the commons. Everybody can move. But then there are conditions. We also have to see that the pollution doesn't happen. The miscreants shouldn't happen. There should be a control. And thereby there should be a balance. But who will put the balance? Balance has to be there. Now, apart from balance, we also require to have what we call as marine spatial planning. Now, when I say marine spatial planning, it is not only for one state, it is for the number of states, unless until they plan. And it is not away from India also. India also have to plan with respect to oceans. And thereby, you have marine protected areas. How can we leave away those areas? Although we don't go there, but those protected areas have to be also managed. And if we are not going to manage those things, the ocean health will be disturbed. And if we don't look at the ocean health, tomorrow there will be a grievous hurt to all the states. Like we had seen tsunami, and after tsunami, we are trying to prepare ourselves how to carry our activities. In this, what I see is like what Taiwan has began, like Marine Affairs Council. It's a big program, and I would congratulate you for this program, because this program has to be elevated for the other states which has. Like India also has 7,200 nautical miles, 7,200 kilometers as maritime boundaries. So we have that water space, and thereby we also need to build our capacity. We are still, the capacity building is supposed to be taking place. And from where it will happen? If we have India-Taiwan relation, if it prospers, and it will give a broader area. And thereby, what we are being said, that marine gray zone tracking should be done. When I say gray zone tracking, that's a common area where everybody should move. It's an area where everybody has a responsibility to see that it is not being taken away. Now, there are a lot of collaborative initiatives like SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. Sustainable Development Goals. Now, when we say Sustainable Development Goals are also with respect to water, life below water is also there. It is not only life above water. Life below water is also there. And so everybody should contribute to those particular situations. And to sum up, what I say is there has to be local participation of all. Unless until there is a local participation of all, the governance will not happen. It is everybody should agree to that particular participation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Khan, for your inspiring words. As a moderator, I officially declare that we have passed the time. We have run out of time. I think it's my bad. I had a bad time management. However, we can continue our conversation starting from now for another 2 hours. So I would like to invite a few questions from the floor before I make the concluding remark and wrap up. So please identify yourself and also the question or comment that you want to address to which distinguished panelists. And it will be grateful if you can keep brief. Yes. Yes, please.
Professor Jakubczak from National Taiwan University, Taiwan, and Fire University, Warsaw, Poland. I have a question for the lady from Australia, because I found your research extremely interesting. And critical infrastructure is something that every country needs for the society and government to survive. And I was just wondering whether or not you were taking under consideration in your research the aspects related to vulnerabilities created by the Internet of Things or Internet of Everything. I think this aspect is not very popular, not yet very popular, and I think it's going to be exploited not only on a physical and software, like hardware and software aspects, but also when it comes to cognitive warfare. So I would like to learn whether you were also including it in your research, or maybe other panelists have something to add to the growing importance of the Internet of Things, Internet of Everything, with respect to critical infrastructure protection. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Thank you for a question from the National Taiwan University. And could we collect one more or a few more? Yes, please.
Thank you for giving me this great opportunity to ask. I think my question will be a little bit broad. I'm from Taiwan Ocean University and also a graduate of ANCOS, Australia. And my question is about what kind of role Taiwan can play, or any island but developed country can play in ocean and climate change dialogue. Since climate change is a common issue to the whole universe, and it's also very there is a highly connection with ocean issues. So I'm very curious about your perspectives, how Taiwan can play, or what kind of key points or key strategies you will recommend Taiwan can do in the international climate change and ocean dialogue. Thank you.
Is there any more questions? Or yes, please.
Good afternoon. And I would like to ask Mr. Pierre Tosi, and I'm from Suzhou University, and my name is Vicky. And I would like to ask that on July 13, 2020, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is issued a statement declaring that China's claim over most of the South China Sea's maritime resources are completely unlawful, and he criticized China for attempting to dominate the South China Sea through coercion. And I'm wondering why does the United States attach great importance to the South China Sea, as it has something to do with the first island chain? Thank you.
I believe this might be the final question to address to our panelists. So please, I will ask Dr. Jun for responding your feedback to the audience first.
For the first question, thank you so much for such an interesting question. I have not thought about this kind of software or data as part of the critical infrastructure. As for my research, we just focus on the wind farms as an example of the critical infrastructure. But there is an ongoing research on the critical infrastructure after the Nord Stream pipelines incidents, for sure. And that's why EU has been moving forward to protection of the critical infrastructure. I do not recall the definition of the critical infrastructure in the EU directive, but as far as I recall, it is more physical infrastructure and very broad, like port and the wind farms and oil and gas platforms or etc. But I think your point will be very valuable, and then we may need to think about it further. And as for the second question, that because I think renewable energy can play an important role in tackling the climate change, and as I told you, that Taiwan has been a front runner in the development of offshore wind farms in Asia. So I believe that Taiwan can share their own experiences to other countries, especially ASEAN countries or Australia, where have a significant potential but not has developed much. And climate change is such a big issue, so I don't think one sector can be just cannot solve the issue properly. So I think, for example, shipping sector, Taiwan also should think about, even though Taiwan is not a member of the IMO, but I believe I would say that Taiwan should consider the recent revised guidelines at the IMO about the CO2 emission, and then a number of technologies relating to reduce the CO2 from the shipping sector. And I think those guidelines can be good best practices that Taiwan government or Taiwanese industry can consider further. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Xiong. Yes, Mr. Tosi.
So just maybe quickly on the Internet of Things, because I think it's a very important critical vulnerability that we have, especially cellular modules and how you find it in everything from cell phones to cars to critical infrastructure. If you want to read something scary, the work that Charlie Parton in the UK, I think it's the Center for Geostrategic Studies, has done on this subject, it should keep all of us awake at night. So thank you for that question. For Vicky, thank you for your question as well. I think it goes to the point that I was trying to make. The fact is you're going to have a hegemon that is a guarantor of the rules-based international order, but also of the maritime space. In the past, it was the United Kingdom that did that, Great Britain. It was Great Britain, for example, the British Navy, that ended slavery. If you read the history of Wilberforce, and they enforced that. Much of our international law concepts come from Roman law, the Jus Gentium and that, and the idea of the Mediterranean, middle of the earth, Zhongguo, too. It's the same root as that, but it was a Roman hegemony, and that sort of laid forth the fundamental principles, and it was the Roman Empire that secured the Mediterranean. And since the end of the Second World War, it has been the United States that's played that role. So even though you could say that, well, doesn't concern the first island chain, well, I mean, I think it's all interconnected, but it's the broader issue of protecting that global common. And when you don't have a hegemon, or when a hegemon is challenged, then you have disorder. In some ways, we have this concept of piracy. What is it in Latin? Hostia contra gentes, or the idea of those that are outlaws, essentially, there. And what is interesting is how the PRC has, in many ways, played that very disruptive role. And then just because I have opinions about everything, just that question, not so much to address the climate change issue, but ocean sustainability. I think, Suza, you referred to IUU fishing, and that's something where China has been really a rogue operator in despoiling that. Taiwan's past record in fishing has not been that good, but there's been a lot of progress that is made. I think it's very important. Taiwan's great strength, it's not necessarily its military strength, but it is its moral strength. The fact that it shows that a democracy, constitutionalism, respect for human rights can exist within a Chinese tradition. And actually, I was going to talk a little bit about that on Friday in another talk that we're given with Gavin Williamson, who you heard earlier. So it is important that Taiwan be better. I mean, there are things that Taiwan can do with its fishing fleets, like having internet access for the fishing crews and things like that, and it can ensure that its fishing practices do comply with sustainability and also in its treatment of labor. It has been making, I think, great strides towards that, but it really has to set the example and set the contrast with the fishing fleets operated by the PRC, which, really they despoil the environment, but they also utilize forced labor, and it really is terrible. So thank you for that question.
Thank you. As a moderator, I think I will be very brief to summarize and to wrap up this very meaningful session. That we, during the past 1 hour, we navigated through the intellectual brainstorming and with the very candid communication and dialogue on different matter, different issue. And we also agree that, I think our distinguished panelists also agree that the ocean governance or the maritime affairs is a cross-sectoral issue and should be operated through a cross-sectoral partnership, including government sector, the state actor, and the non-government stakeholder. Some small group of people and all experts or the local community as well. And we also witness the cross-regional references between Taiwan and European country on several important common challenges like IUU fishing, like maritime security, like the undersea cables resilience, and the reminder of our panelists on the technology issue and also curating the public awareness issue are also very important. And I will finalize by answering my question or my own proposal on the maritime corridor. I would suggest probably my contribution to today's discussion will be it will has at least two important trends for the maritime corridor. Number one is the transparency. Just as our friend mentioned, the regulation and other code of conduct. So if we can publicize that, make it transparent, and the country's stakeholder will adhere and at least know what we can follow, what we can adhere. And the second trend is transnational network, including the information sharing, including those mechanisms that can gather the expert and also the like-minded institution to do brainstorming, to do the candid discussion and also the dialogue. I just received a gentle reminder from the secretary and organizer that I will stop here. And I think today's forum is not the end. And the effort done by the Taiwan's Ocean Affairs Council is a kickoff of the series of follow-up discussion and follow-up partnership. Today's forum and this session and the previous session is the venue to curate the friendship of the like-minded partner and institution. And we do look forward to tomorrow's exciting discussion, debate, and also brainstorming of a feasible and doable future roadmap of this maritime cooperation or the ocean governance framework of the Indo-Pacific country. With that, I should stop here, and please join me to thank all the distinguished panelists and also the organizer and secretary for today's International Ocean Forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yang. Let us take a group photo for our brilliant panel. Thank you very much.